All right, Ad Nauseam. This is a deck that's named after its primary win condition here. So basically, glad Nauseam I felt the call. What is an interesting but easy to understand deck to get into Modern with? I really like Green Black Elves. Green Black Elves is like not only one of my competitive decks of choice, but I think it's just like very good and it's super straightforward. And it does very similar things most of the games. It's super consistent, which is one of the reasons why I like it for competitive play. Wow, hello there. Thanks for 11 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. You can find my current preferred elves list on my website, but there's also going to be a few good upgrades coming in the new Modern Horizons set for that, so it'll change a small bit about the details. All right, anywho, Ad Nauseam. So this deck's namesake is what it's named after. Basically, what this deck aims to do is you either cast the card Angel's Grace so you can't lose until end of turn, or you cast the card Phyrexian Unlife so you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. Then you use Ad Nauseam to draw the entirety of your deck. And then once you're holding the whole wide world in your hand, you pitch 3 copies of Simian Spirit Guide to cast the card Lightning Storm, which deals 3 damage plus the number of charge counters on it, where these counters are determined by the number of extra lands you can discard. So if you draw your whole deck, you're going to have a bunch of lands to discard, so Lightning Storm will be lethal. One of the things that's neat to note about this deck is this deck can technically kill at instant speed because Angel's Grace, Ad Nauseam, and Lightning Storm are all instant, which makes this deck very good against the Cryptic Command and like blue-based interactive decks in the format, because like if they like tap out for Vendilion Clique at your end step or something like that, you can just like kill them in response, which is really sweet. Morning, Savage. Well, the Land Nauseam deck to which you're referring, Infinite Shadow, that was a Legacy deck that we had played. So this is Modern, which is a different format. Yeah, this is a deck that very notably does not care that Force of Negation is free. For the most part. It's me, your dad. Thank you for the 9 months. And F Weasel, thank you for the 12 months of support and the very generous tier 2 resub at that. Let's get you a sword to go with that shield. I think this is a mulligan. Not only does it not have any fast mana, and it only has one of our... It's just really bad overall. Like, double Pact is awkward. I only have 1 land, and it's a Gemstone Mine, so it gets used up eventually. I don't have both my combo pieces. This hand's, like, not amazing, but I think it's in the range of keepable. Double Lotus Bloom is hard to pass up. I've got one of my 2 combo pieces. I think this is better than going to 5. One of the important things to note about this deck, and one of the reasons why it's kind of competitive, is the fact that Phyrexian Unlife here is a card that just like makes aggro decks kill us more slowly. So it's able to blunt their early aggression against a lot of decks. A distinction. Thank you for the 13-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. And Flesh Eaten Gnome coming in hot with the 8 months. Yeah, yesterday's set with the Party Bus was really good. All right, and there's Ad Nauseam, our second combo piece here. I suspended 2 copies of Lotus Bloom, so in 2 turns we're just gonna have basically infinite mana. My opponent is playing an aggressive deck, so like I mentioned, Unlifed often does. It's going to buy us a lot of time here. So if my opponent doesn't have a hard counter, we should be killing them next turn. So the upcoming interface additions to Magic Online are purely for like the game lobbies and stuff. The actual interface here where you spend most of your time actually playing the games isn't changing from my understanding. Hey, Ekian, thank you for the 2 months. Hope you're having a fantastical Thursday wherever you're at. I'm just going to go ahead and pass here. A lot of times these Merfolk decks play counterspells, so I don't want to run into a counterspell here. They might like activate this Benthic Biomancer here or play something like Merfolk Trickster, so my opponent's pretty unlikely to have a Dispel in their main deck, so unless they have a Dispel or some other 1-mana hard counter here, they're dead. And my opponent's conceding because they're dead. So again, the way I actually win the game from here, if my opponent doesn't concede, we get to draw our entire deck with Ad Nauseam, and then we cast Lightning Storm, discard a bunch of lands to it, and then kill them with it. Yeah, if you see a pre-roll ad to start, it's a good reminder that your Prime sub is up. I think I actually just click submit here. Like, I have Pact of Negation for some small amount of anti-counterspell stuff. I think that's all I really want. Like, this isn't really a matchup where I want Grave Titan. I guess my opponent probably doesn't have creature removal post board, so maybe Grand Abolisher's fine. It, like, trades off with something. Yeah, I can see that. Always, I don't even know if I need the Echoing Truth, right? Because like I have Laboratory Maniac in case they Leyline. And like I think it's pretty unlikely that my opponent's deck has Leyline in it, honestly. Yeah, I'm gonna trim a spoils and bring in a Grand Abolisher. pretty minimal. Sure. Seeing it has Abolisher and an Unlife. We could technically spoils for an Ad Nauseam once we get Unlife into play safely. Moto is artwork optional this morning. Oh, we zoomed and it loaded. Look at that. Look at that. Way to buffer, Moto. Buffer it up. That was a reading Grand Abolisher pause. Morning, Jack. So, with Abolisher in play, this match just becomes a pure race. And with Unlife and spoils for Ad Nauseam, we should be in a good position to just win this race outright. So notably, this attack is for 10, which means they can't kill me for at least 2 more turns, which is nice. That's for 11 with that, sure. If you go to mtgo.com, there should be an article detailing it. There are actually some interface updates, or interface changes coming. Nope, same as always. So, the way Phyrexian Unlife works, my opponent attacks and hits me here, and it puts me to -11, because I don't start taking infect damage from Phyrexian Unlife until I'm actually below 0. And I believe my opponent has died. Hey, look at that, we just drew Ad Nauseam. So even if we hadn't drawn Ad Nauseam for the turn here, we have enough mana that I could spoils the vault for Ad Nauseam. This Grand Abolisher is pretty sweet. I would bet good money that my my opponent has I would bet good money that my opponent has counterspells in their hand. So if you hold down the 3 button by default, it'll draw your entire deck. You can see my health total ticking down while I draw. And then using Labman plus Serum Visions is actually less clicking, so I'm gonna go ahead and win like that. So Laboratory Maniac says if you would go to draw a card while there's nothing in your deck, you win the game instead of losing. And then Serum Visions, say 1 mana card to let me draw a card. This isn't my first Ad Nauseam rodeo. I've rocked these streets before. Artwork is optional on a variety of Magic Online cards this morning. We have Angel's Grace plus Ad Nauseam here. Turn 1 Sulphur Falls, probably a reasonable matchup for us. Although this deck does tend to have a kind of rough time with the card Blood Moon. We do not have a ton of basic lands in our deck. Sounds good, Stormy. I mean, like, if you're just playing smaller events, like, it's fine. I'm certain, like, you can still win games with just about anything. Yeah, right, Distinction? I'm really looking forward to the egotistical, my league's really competitive and yours isn't going away. As always annoying. Turn 2 Lotus Bloom, not as ideal as turn 1, but that's fine. Opponent's not playing particularly aggressive decks, so we don't really need to race, I don't think. Fred Wick, thanks for the 20 months. I appreciate it. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Alright, well, our poker hand's pretty good. You electrolyzing me? Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Our hand's like, okay. If they have like a remand for my Lotus Bloom, my hand actually doesn't go anywhere. I'm like hoping to draw some lands here, right? We're still 2 turns off of Bloom working. Sure. That's good. It's good beta potential counterspell. This is technically a combo piece. I have Angel's Grace in my hand, so like I don't really care about this too much, but hey, look, a remand on my Unlife instead of a remand on my other thing for next turn. Now, the remand in their graveyard does mean if they have Snapcaster remand, I could be in trouble. Again, one of the notable things here, while my opponent does have some disruption that's meaningful, they don't currently have me under a clock, so like it's not super relevant. I would like to cast Lotus Bloom. Ooh, that just resolved. Okay, that's exciting. Alright, sweet. So, hopefully they activate Desolate Lighthouse, and then we kill them in response. Now, I could get Spell Pierced here. So again, I cast the card Angel's Grace, so I can't actually die this turn. I draw my entire deck. Oh, I do have mana for Pierce, you're right. Landed Simian, good call. Yeah, they would have needed main deck Dispel, right? Which is like not unheard of, but pretty unlikely. My opponent conceding. Is that what this lockup is? Nope. Not a concession lockup. Alright, so I need to hold control while casting this, so I retain priority. And now I discard a bunch of lands here. Need to crank this up for... Alright, so this already has 2 counters on it. So this is 5, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I would play Resplendent over Tajik, but I'm interested to see how you play it. Well, Resplendent doesn't trigger Path, is part of the idea, I think, there. So my opponent is likely a deck full of counterspells. This sideboard just, like, has an absurd amount of counterspell hate in it. It's got a 4th Pact of Negation, 2 copies of Silence, a Thoughtseize, and a Grand Abolisher. Just, like, a lot of anti-counterspell cards. Spoils is probably a fine trim. Could see trimming Unlife and a Pentad Prism, perhaps. Yeah, I've watched Ad Nauseam versus Dredge, and that way, because the Dredge player is just, like, sitting on 7 lands in hand from alone. Do we want Wear, Tear, or Echoing Truth? I don't think so. So, like, we have Laboratory Maniac as an alt win condition if they have something. Yeah, do I want Wear, Tear for Blood Moon? I think that's over sideboarding. I don't know that I can afford to, like, bring in Silence and Thoughtseize and, like, all these other things. If anything, if I'm really worried about Blood Moon, I think I just leave in the Pentad Prisms. I could see that being the case. I think this is a better hedge against Blood Moon than bringing in more interactive cards. Yeah, I'll leave this in and I'll cut this Thoughtseize. Let's do that. Someone asked me if I have a preference for this versus another build. I don't have any preferences on this archetype. This is just the list someone sent me to play. This hand is great. This hand's, like, really good. It's, like, double acceleration, 2 of this win con, and an Ad Nauseam. He just needs, like, a Pact of Negation to be perfect. So, Grave Titan from the sideboard is that the Grave Titan out of the sideboard in this deck is very similar to how the Nexus of Fate decks in Standard tend to board cards like Biogenic Ooze. A lot of the fair interactive decks in this format, I'm gonna bottom that. I don't need another one on turn 2. Hey, Simian. Thank you for your support. It's very similar to, like, the Biogenic Oozes and the creatures in the Nexus decks, where the fair decks are going to board out most of their creature interaction against you post-board. And then once they board that out, we're able to win with a single creature like that. Do you see the 1-drop Fae? I did not. 1/1 Flying Scry 2. 1/1 Flying Scry 2. Is that playable? If I draw an untapped land next turn, they're dead, right? Just like land, pitch Spirit Guide, kill you with Ad Nauseam. Alright, so untapped land is lethal. Untapped land and Simian Spirit Guide both kill them. I don't know if Scry 2 is worth it. Yeah, spell Center Sprite's like a 1-for-1 at least. Like a 1/1 scry 2 is like not a guaranteed 1-for-1 is the issue. Everything's playable if you deny reality really hard. Ain't that the truth? Unfortunately, we found a Temple of Tilt. By the way, for people, I don't think anybody's looked at it yet, but I rotated out a couple of emotes last night for people who want new fancy Twitch toys. Have an emoticon for the glowing red circle of no. That keeps me empowered in standard. And a garbage time emote for funsies. Do you think they're gonna activate Desolate Lighthouse again? That worked out really well for them last time. What are the odds they activate the Desolate Lighthouse? Low? They learned their lesson, rats. Alright, so we need to find one of our silences, our Grand Abolisher, or one of our various other things. The two emoticons I added last night. Now we have something to put in chat when we sing the garbage time song. Do 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 do. My opponent's in like a no blink pattern, right? They just keep swinging, swinging, swinging. Just keep swinging, Snapcaster Mage. Go forth in meme, Anarchist. Go forth in meme. We boarded in so many anti-counterspell cards. We just drawn none of them. Super unfortunate that our Temple of Enlightenment was a tap land on 3, so we couldn't kill them. Notably, my opponent is stuck on mana, so that means pretty unlikely they can cast 2 counterspells in the same turn. Hey, C Unit, thanks for 17 months. Welcome back. You thought you could just kill me. Oh no! Oh no, they killed Simian. They killed Simian, chat. Whatever is a spirit guide to do. Is it worth it to hold lands at this point? No, I don't think so. My opponent's out of land. Doesn't have any lands in their hand. They would have played them. I probably should have tapped City of Brass instead of using my Pentad Prism, though. The 1 point of life is probably less valuable than this. With a Sleight of Hand on top to dig for a silence or something like that. Yikes. It's been a rough one, chat. And the good news is we bottomed a variety of things that are not things we're looking for, so... Huh. I don't think that's subpar at all. Because the way I'm tapped now, I actually can't Lightning Storm them. So like now they're free to tap out and do stuff. Like, that seems like a fine play for my opponent. And this is just a good example of like post board here. We're basically a 3-card combo, right? Like we're looking for an anti-counterspell card and just like can't find any. And like we're through like there's 4 Pact of Negations, 2 Silence, and a Grand Abolisher in my deck. And just like if we would have found any of these cards, we probably would have been able to push through. I think my opponent's probably stabilized at this point with having enough mana and stuff. Now I hit the Silence, and I still have enough to kill them at instant speed, so I'm going to wait until they blink here, I think. And, like, use some amount of mana. Like, they might have enough mana at this point that, like, they're thinking about using the Desolate Lighthouse. Or, like, flashing in a Snapcaster Mage. So, like, maybe they don't have double counterspell from here. Maybe. They have like a negate, we're probably dead. Ooh, and they're bouncing my Lotus Bloom. This is slick, because that's my red mana. So it forces me to Ad Nauseam here. So if they have like a negate or a remand here, I'm just going to concede. Yeah. Don't have enough time. Just took us much too long to find the Silence. Like my opponent was choked on mana early, so if we would have hit one of our anti-counterspell cards earlier, we would have been fine, but we just didn't find them. There's no guarantee they cast the Opt Corrosion, and the way priority works in Magic the Gathering, if I just pass priority after their Snapcaster trigger resolves, they could just go, okay, my turn. And in fact, I'd assume their hand's probably good enough that they don't need to cast anything. Like, that was very likely just a naked Snapcaster Mage to increase the clock if my opponent is smart. So this hand is lacking combo pieces, but it's got plenty of mana. It's got an anti-counterspell card, and it's got 2 cantrips, so it seems very reasonable to keep. I'm going to bottom a land for now. I'm going to see a lot of cards here, so good chance we find another land in all the cards we're going to look at. Unlife, perfect. I already have an anti-counterspell card, so I'm just going to go ahead and lock my 3rd land in here. Looking for an Ad Nauseam at this point. I have a Spell Pierce. Opt, sure. I'm just gonna go bottoms up here. These two lands are gonna like run out eventually, but I don't really have a lot of things to spend mana on, so it's like not really a big deal. It's an aggressive remand. They must be looking for land drops. Or they're either looking for land drops or their hand has just infinite counterspells in it. Especially with like Lotus Bloom coming off suspend the next turn. Try and stick this while they're mostly tapped out. Could get pierced. Yep. I have another one here, thankfully. I think if I hadn't drawn the second Unlife there, I probably would have just double prismed. Making them have exactly pierce is pretty specific. This is an okay pickup. Because it means that down the line, this Unlife becomes a little bit less important. So, like, I care less if it gets countered. I mean, again here, like, getting a little bit disrupted early to start, like, feels bad. But my opponent's not pressuring us. So, like, we have plenty of time to draw out of this at the moment. We like Cryptic bouncing something here. We like Bolt Snap bolting. Bolt Snap Bolt is like one of their best possible plays here. There's no risk of them dying, and it puts me on a pretty significant clock. Yep. Morning, Trexie. Oh, they're casting Opt. Interesting. I guess their hand, they feel their hand isn't very good then. Sometimes when you resub, you have to refresh to send the notification through, Caboose Man. Oh, you're on mobile. Yeah, mobile's wonky sometimes. I mean, people changing companies in the games industry, like, isn't really all that unheard of, then, Faith. Especially when you're someone who's, like, had a major role in launching a very successful project. Like, you can only describe Arena as, like, being very successful, right? Like, if they want to change jobs, they could probably, like, write their own ticket to a place that likely pays a higher salary. Well, the good news is, if we draw an Ad Nauseam, they are super dead. So we have double Pact. Changing jobs every 3-ish years, and tech jobs is the norm. It's a temple that doesn't even have the decency to scry. Oh, getting snap negated. Yep. Is it too aggressive to pact this negate? There you go, Caboose. Welcome back. Thanks for the 4 months. Like, I have to pay... And I don't think that's true, Pikes, because, like, pacting the Snapcaster Mage lets them Cryptic command me. So, like, I don't think it's as straightforward as that. I think you're being a little short-sighted there. Yeah, probably just let this happen and hope to draw an Ad Nauseam. Pretty unlikely they can triple counterspell me the turn we try and combo, so I think we just hope to, like, rip cantrips into Ad Nauseam or Ad Nauseam. You don't know, so, like, obviously having an extra free counter when, like, if we find our thing is nice, but, like, if we don't find our thing, Like, the Snapcaster Mage increases their clock by a significant amount, and the Unlife would buy us 3 extra turns, which is 3 more looks. So, like, I'm, like, dead to Lightning Bolt here, basically. Which they're, like, pretty likely to have. Yeah, I think I was supposed to Pact the Negate there. And this is, like, this is one of the reasons why, like, I never really understood the appeal of this deck. This deck is very much just, like, A-B combo deck that's just, like, you either hit your stuff or you don't. There's not a ton of meaningful interaction. It's just, like, a lot of, like, spinning your tires and, like, I have it or I don't. But I guess that's a lot of Modern, too. So, like, it's not that different than a lot of other things that are going on in the format. Wow, we're upkeep bolting me. This is really bad. Because it means I get to Angel's Grace here to survive it, and then I can draw an Ad Nauseam for the turn. So they should definitely be lightning bolting me on their turn. Because now I can draw Ad Nauseam and win the game. Justice? This is a no justice stream, unfortunately. So, like, we're not going to hit. It's a redraw. It's like pretty good example. Like two games in a row, we have like 2 of the 3 things, right? Like game 2, we had Ad Nauseam plus Angel's Grace and Unlife, and we didn't have a card to stop a counterspell. And then, like, this game, we had the Angel's Grace and Unlife, and we had the card to stop counterspell, and we just never found our Ad Nauseam. Had that been preordained, we'd have won the game. Will I do a post-Horizons Modern Brunei? I think people are going to be very disappointed when they realize that the cards in Modern Horizons don't really enable new brews. While there are a variety of cards in Modern Horizons that are going to impact and see play in Modern, there aren't really, like, new archetype-defining cards. Like, there's just a smattering of things that go into a variety of existing decks for the most part. Yeah, Horizons is mostly a commander set. The problem with Assault Loam is the problem with every tier 2 graveyard deck, which is that, like, all of these graveyard decks are just less efficient than normal Dredge. And, like, normal Dredge makes people pack so much graveyard hate that, like, tier 2 graveyard decks just really struggle. My plans for Modern Horizons is, if people submit enough Modern decks to be played, I plan to do 2 Modern-only streams that'll be Moto all day after Modern Horizons releases. And then, if those streams have good numbers and the YouTube videos have good numbers, I will do maybe a 3rd and 4th the following week, but we'll see. As with everything on this channel, my decisions are going to be data-driven. So I'm going to do 2 days to see how they shake out. If they shake out poorly, we'll just stick to my 1 Moto in the morning, the rest arena. Windswept Teeth, Overgrown Tomb. 4-color Shadow. Traverse Shadow. This will be a matchup where Unlife is good. A Temple plus a Serum Vision the same turn is like almost a preordain. It's like almost a preordain. He knows the truth about the Shuffler. And he just Teamer Battle Rage a 3/3. Weird. Yeah, Unlife does not bias the guaranteed time it does in other matchups. That's true. The The aggressive battle rage there is probably indicative of a delve spell in their hand. So here's the thing, Brewlander. Modern doesn't have a metagame. You shouldn't look at decks. If the only reason you're playing a deck is it's good in the metagame, that's you likely trying to justify to yourself playing a bad deck. Listen, if you really like how the Vanafear core deck plays, it's fine. You should enjoy it, and you should play it, and you should love it, because Magic's a game that you should play for fun, and if a deck really tickles your fancy, that's the reason to play it. I think one of the things I think that people do incorrectly with decks like Vanafear Court is I think your recommendation there, trying to change the deck to make it a faster linear race deck, is bad. The deck isn't good because it's a fast linear race deck. The deck is good because it has a combo that's also a little bit interactive with its toolbox. If you want to play a fast linear race deck, play Grishelbrand. I think we should have Serum tier using Serum Visions. Nah, I don't think so. Wow, this is dealing exactly 10 to us. That's unfortunate. So we're dead to another. Oh, I had Lotus Bloom coming off. Okay, that's a good point, Pike. I forgot I had Lotus Bloom coming off. Didn't matter. Oh, was I supposed to... Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Caboose Man. I hit the command for you earlier, but you must not have been watching chat. I should have played Gemstone Mine out there to cast the Simian Spirit Guide instead of cracking my Lotus Bloom. But it's fine. I still kill them next turn if I draw an Ad Nauseam. Thoughts on Lantern Control. It's miserable, and if you enjoy being miserable, enjoy playing it. Morning, dude. Again, just like, this gameplay is just like, kind of whatever, right? It's like, well, if I draw my Ad Nauseam, nothing my opponent's done has mattered, and I kill them. And if I don't draw the Ad Nauseam, I lose the game. As always, if you're interested in seeing decks that are coming up on the website, you can check out the deck queue. bit.ly/deck queue for short. You can also go to magicesports.net and click live stream deck queue. Slam in, thanks for the 2 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, basically Socio Penguin. So did we get there? Oh yeah, I could. No, I'm still dead. No, I guess I'm not dead. Alright, it's fine. It's fine. I wasn't on top of my deck. Yeah, I could pact it and then Angel's Grace to not pay for the pact and then have land Ad Nauseam. So if this was Ad Nauseam, I could have done it. Good morning to you too, dude. Happy Thursday. I mean, there's a lot of that to a degree, but the flip side of a lot of these decks have a little bit of interaction to them is like also true. Like a lot of the really good decks in Modern have a little bit of interaction for when the opponent could potentially be faster than you, and there's some bobbing and weaving inside of that too. And like this deck's interaction is like Pact of Negation and Phyrexian Unlife to like slow your opponent down a hair. No ley lines? I don't know. Maybe I'm supposed to board in Leyline? Sounds good, dude. That should be up tomorrow, I believe, then. Would you call either Grishelbrand or Neilshilbrand good decks? They don't seem to have hardly any interaction. Yeah. I think Grishelbrand's a very reasonable deck. And Neo-Shilbrand, probably not, but I also don't have a ton of experience with that archetype. I'm just going to go to the next one. And Grishelbrand is like half a turn faster than a lot of the other combo decks in Modern on average, and it also has a little bit of interaction out of the sideboard. Morning Ketchup. My life is swell. Hanging out, playing some Modern, getting dumpstered with Ad Nauseam. I didn't understand your "this is a turn 4 deck" sarcasm until the third Grishelbrand video I watched. Yeah, mid-range decks tend to not be stellar in this format. Green Black Rock like has somewhat of a fighting chance, but you have to, and this is the big thing about Modern. There's a number of fair decks that are like reasonable in this format, but what I think a lot of people don't realize, or at least like the people that like staunchly defend what's going on in these formats, is that like you can't just, it isn't just enough that like you have a fair deck that's competitive. You have to also, in this format, enjoy playing your fair deck against unfair decks, because a majority of the format is not fair Magic. And then there's the flip side of, like, if you're playing Green Black Rock, a majority of the people playing fair decks in Modern are fair decks like Blue-White Control that just tend to dumpster mid-range decks. Smells like Phoenix. Pentad Prism's a good pickup here. Is Phoenix a fair deck? I don't know. It probably depends on your definition of fair. What are some aggressive decks you can try? I mean, my go-to recommended aggressive deck in Modern is, like, always Elves. Ooh, punted here. If I was going to Serum Visions, I should have Serum Visions before playing the land, because I could have played my Temple of Deceit tapped here instead of playing the Gemstone Mine. Pretty important, relevant mess up. if you're new to Modern and looking for decks, if you go to my website and click on the Modern Decks button, there is a search function up there where you can search based on archetype, how competitive I think the deck is, and just like my standard deck pages, you can find my current preferred deck list for that archetype, as well as a playlist of videos of me playing those decks. So a lot of good, well-organized content up there, regardless of what format you're looking for. D Squared MD, thank you for the half a year of support. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Are they hard casting a Phoenix here? Do they really not have a spell to flip this thing? We're cryptic commanding me. That's rude. Yeah, there's like 50 modern decks up there. So standard doesn't have a search function because there's only like half a dozen decks per season or so, if that. Modern, there's like 50 decks though, so our search function is valuable and important. Yeah, I agree with Pike. I think the new Changeling is another one of those cards that, like, this is kind of neat, but the power level of what this is doing is ultimately not good enough to see play in Modern. It's not better than the busted cards we're already playing. I think Modern Delver is likely still to just be bad Phoenix. Or bad Shadow, yep. Are they about to Cryptic bounce my Unlife and then bolt me and kill me? Nah, the new Urza seems like an EDH card. The only cards you really need a lot of mana for in Whir Prison are like Whir, and you can just cast Whir with tapping it already. Am I dead yet? I'm not dead yet. Yeah. I'm not dead yet. Using the Cryptic command to bounce my Unlife when they're not killing me this turn seems really loose. Yeah, I assumed when they bounced this that I was dying. And the result being me not dying was strange to me. Yep, yeah, we picked up Chewy Pet Supplies as a sponsor. Rolled that out yesterday. So if you're someone with pets who buys supplies, if you have pets, you probably buy pet supplies on the regular. So Chewy does auto. You think I should run Prism out? Yeah, I guess it's technically +1 mana, huh? Chewy does their auto shipping, so you can set up a schedule to get your same pet supplies sent to you on the regular. If you use my my link bit.ly/HugelChewy, you'll save 30% on your first auto ship order with them. We don't guaranteed kill them next turn, because if we spoils past enough lands, we might not have enough to Lightning Storm them. I just Pact of Negation this, right? Because next turn, I get to... Oh, no, I'm not going to have enough mana now, right? Am I not going to have enough mana? Oh, yeah, I should have spoiled off of the... Well, so, like, spoilings off of the Prism isn't even... And, like, if my opponent plays... If I float mana off the Prism, my opponent just changes phases, so floating the mana doesn't matter. So the problem here is I can Angel's Grace in response to the Pact trigger, but I no longer have enough mana to spoils and cast Ad Nauseam because the Prism's dead. So I have to draw Ad Nauseam for the turn now, or I have to draw a Simian Spirit Guide. So Ad Nauseam or Simian Spirit Guide, and I can still win. And we're dead. Yeah, I'm gonna be done with this deck. This deck is like really, really dry, and I'm just not enjoying it. I think this is another chat. Stop it. Stop. I'm just done. Okay, just to wrap up again with the floating the mana. If I float the mana and I cast spoils off the floating mana, I die to Lightning Bolt or Snapcaster Mage. There's a Lightning Bolt in their graveyard. If I float the mana and they would just change phases and cast the Vendilion Clique pass. So I still just fucking die because this deck is bad and I'm done playing it. Sorry. We dropped a swear word because bad modern decks make me frustrated. We're gonna not take this one anymore. This deck is bad, and it didn't matter what we did there, we were dead. Alright. Let's play a format that doesn't involve 2 ships passing in the night and isn't The Party Bus League yesterday was awesome, dude. It was the deck of the day. The Party Bus is frequently the deck of the day.